lots of little ones, but our relative's going to be riding in, and it's going to be, I'm not sure how the horse is going to handle the PA system, but I want to make sure we're going to, in our ways, we always go clockwise. I mean, that's the way I was always taught. But again, too, I want to make sure, I'm not sure how the rider is. So I want to talk a little bit, and I don't want to spook this, but relatives coming around and going to, we're gonna let her come around. We're gonna go around here probably maybe 4 times, and we're gonna stop here in the middle here. And once again, this acknowledges what you would call at one time would be what's called it was known as the Sweet Corn Treaty, but also it took place in the 1850s, and it had to do with our hunting lands between what you call, and I'll mention Pine Point, because one of the last known battles that took place, I would say, between the Dakota people and our relatives here took place before in the early 1850s, and there was a law, or there was rules that had to do with understanding and starting to share the hunting lands of what was then, at one time, this territory that we now have, that is White Earth, that's known as White Earth. In this area, this territory, if you know, the Red River is west of us, and all the land so far, a lot of this land from where we are all the way to the Red River and all the way up into Canada was considered to be the hunting lands of the people that right here, of the White Earth Nation, not come to be known as the White Earth Nation. It wasn't known as the White Earth Nation at that time. But the people of here, they're known just as the Sisseton people, what's known as the Sistenwapton Reservation. The Sistenwapton Reservation and the Spirit Lake Nation at one time, at that same time, was all together. We're actually known as that. So that's the same territory. But on the west side of the river, that was known as, I guess, when they made those divisions, as those hunting lands or those homelands of people. So there's been relatives that have ridden from what is now known as Chute Hollow. Now I just want to make sure that normally there's songs that go along with this that we have, and I don't know if our relatives are going to be comfortable enough, but I'm gonna sing one song. I'm not going to use a drum. I'm going to sing one song that we use as our. It's called a horse dance song. I'm going to acknowledge that right now in a good way, and I'll sing a verse of that, and then I'm going to ask our chairman, I'm going to ask my relatives to speak a little bit, maybe about our history, maybe a little bit about what's taking place here. So I'm going to sing that song at this time. kawa kawa, watch it out for me. Hey, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, 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 oh, hey, hey, oh. So at this time, I'm going to ask our Chairman Fairbanks, if you would.
Ani Buju, Aishanabek, Namish Kawi Gabo, Nijnakas, Gizi New Dame, Gawa Baga, Kanakuk, and Dune Jabba. Miigwech. I'd like to say miigwech, especially to the announcer here, Londell, for saying some good words about the history of this. And of course, that spirit of, Mashtunab, Money Do here with us, and how we connect with our brothers and sisters west of us, the Dakota. These are things that I believe that are very, very important to our culture, our history between our people, and also the respect that we have for each other. I think this is a very, very good honoring that we do here, not only for our Dakota, our brothers and sisters, but also the spirit here in this Mushtagab here that goes around our arena and blesses us too. I think this is who we are about as a people, that we share and acknowledge each other in good ways. And I think this is important that we continue to add this to our grand entry and our lineup each year, that we do this now, that we acknowledge everything about our history from 1858 when that Sweetwater Treaty was signed. And this is something I think that we have to Google, remember, study the history books on the importance of why we're here today as the White Clay people. So I want to say a big wish to Sage, who's riding that beautiful Honeydew, and also the spiritual advisors that are here, and everyone else, and Alan Hardy smoking his pipe, and the beautiful song Longdale sang. So I want to say a big wish, and to the Powell Committee for having this, do this before Grand Entry, and big wish, view.
And once again, our 4th of July celebration, Sisseton, South Dakota. At one time, it was actually mandated. So if you think about the history, it was told that we would participate. It was almost like a law. It was a law that was actually enacted that we would participate in each other's celebrations. So at one time, if you think about a lot of the history, that there's a lot of history that isn't taught. And if you look at it this way, my grandfather is Sisseton Wahpeton, but my grandmother is from here. So in growing up, I was the one grandson or the one grandchild that was able to, how you say it, in modern times, I was the one that stayed with my grandmother. And in doing so, she always shared with me a lot of the history. My grandmother left here, or my grandmother was back and forth between here and Sisseton from the time that she was probably 14, 15 years old. And in doing so, my grandmother lived in Sisseton for so long, and she lived there until the time that she left for the spirit world in 1999, 2000. And when my grandmother had left, there's a lot of the people that did not know that my grandmother was not enrolled at Sisseton. She lived there for so long that she learned the Dakota language, but she also learned Dakota protocol and learned how a lot of the teachings. My grandmother was actually one of many teachers of language. In the 1980s, she also taught in Minneapolis, St. Paul. She lived with my uncle Eugene Redday, and she taught at the Heart of the Earth Survival School. She also taught at the Little Red Schoolhouse, but she learned. She was actually trilingual. She had her mother tongue, which was right here in White Earth, but she learned the Dakota language, but she also knew this language that I'm speaking right now. So in doing so, she always looked forward to coming back here for the celebration. She's the one that taught me and said to me that expressed this part of the history. And she said, don't forget this, because a lot of things are not being shared, they're not being taught. So a lot of these ways of the drum, also the drum. At one time, the drum was shared back and forth, and a lot of that has to do with the same teachings that come along with that. So when we have these big drums and we're here, it comes along with teachings and rules, but also there's also the things that we have, like the whistles that come here into the center. There's rules and protocols and etiquettes that go along with each and every one of those things. So in the ways, they're not something that we never play with those things. I'm thankful because the day started out with rain. We always need rain. First and foremost, this time of the year. This morning about 6:30, 7 o'clock back home in Sisseton, we had 5 inches of rain in an hour. So we had flash flooding over there. It hasn't happened for many, many years, but it's meant to happen. But also here, on the way over, it was raining. And now, as you see, we're going to have a beautiful evening this evening. The rain has gone, and now we have sunshine. We have the elements that we have each and every day, and we're thankful for that. So once again, to be able to share in our celebrations, we're here to have a good time. We're here to spend time with family and relatives. Relatives come home at this time. At one time, we all shared. This was our transportation. When the time in the 1400s, into the 1500s, when the horse came into the nations, into the people, it was one of the biggest gifts. That's why in the Dakota way, it's called Shuka Wakan. The sacred animal, Tashuka Wakan, is because when that came, it took the place of travel, it took the place of being able to travel and to be able to work. It was very valuable, and it became a staple, just like we have our Menomin. It's a staple of sustenance, able to help us to, as they talked about, the last buffalo hunt. Buffalo and bison, they were also in this area. Some of the last buffalo hunts that took place around here. But at one time, the buffalo was here. So we are all people of the Buffalo Nation also. But as Dakota people, Menomin, our wild rice, that has come to be known as, was also a big part of our diet. So again, a lot of the things that we have in our teachings, in our ways, to be able to have the blessing of this Tashuka, this animal, this sacred animal, to be able to be here with us. And again, we have our ways, and just for the fact that it's also Friday the 13th. And that's pretty awesome. So, once again, I'm going to turn this over to my nephew, Alan, and my nephew is going to say with a little prayer and whatever he wants to share.